Okay. Hi, everyone. We are back. Happy Venus Friday Ascension talk. It's so perfect. Welcome, everyone. Let's just wait for all of you to come back here. Just hi, everybody. Welcome. Let me just put him.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for your patience. Let's just say this. Happy Venus Friday. Okay, we have 3 people in the queue. Thank you so much for coming back. And let's see if you can first hear us. Can you please just let us know if you're hearing us? Hello, join in. Are we able to see a live chat? We just want to see if you can see the interaction here. And can we also see the, that's so weird. Was it like that always? That I only see that? I don't see anybody else.
See anyone else?
I don't see any. Participants. Where the participants are? Okay, some of you, we can see 5 of you are watching. Can you just make a comment? We're trying to figure out where you are. Okay, Kim is here. There you go.
Okay,
and can you hear us? Yes, you can hear.
Thank you, guys. It's
oh,
been
bless you.
a beautiful Friday where lots of things have started. So thank you for your patience and
peace.
Getting through all the good energy.
Peace, love, and peace. Happy Friday Tea Time. Thank you. That was a bit stressful. Sorry about that. I don't even know what happened. Do you know what happened?
I think you pushed the wrong button.
It's possible, but I really don't know what happened in the control room in the live chat. I just went to post this also on Facebook, and then I don't know what happened. So thank you, Kim, for joining. Whoever else is on here, would you like to just introduce yourself and welcome? And tell us where you are joining us from. Hello, Daniel. Thank you so much. You're from New York. Thank you for your patience. And also, let us know what tea you're drinking. This is a new, it wasn't blueberry chai. It was a robust, something robust new tea. Do you like it?
It's delicious. Wonderful, Kim. I'm glad you are in the Outer Banks drinking hibiscus berry tea. Wonderful.
Wonderful.
I'm glad that you're in the beautiful, beautiful Outer Banks. That's a sacred place, a very beautiful place.
It's truly amazing. So give us one more second. Let me see if I can. I'm not going to touch anything else. See, I can see you all are here. Give me one more second. Here we go. Just 1 second. Nobody go anywhere. You're right there. Okay, let me see. I'm trying to post this. Demetrius usually does this. I don't know how he does it. Live on YouTube. Now, let me just see if this will work.
Put love live. You gotta put live.
Okay. Okay, so here. Everybody, one more second. One more second. These are the fun parts of technology, right? Okay, so here we are. Finally, we can relax. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you. Happy 2020 to all of you.
Happy New Year to each and every one of you. What a year has started.
Have you all been having a rough start into the 2020 like us?
All I know is I've heard this week is called Tornado Week, and it sure felt like a cyclone or a tornado or what I would call the biggest storm of my life. But it'd be interesting to hear what you guys are going through and what's coming up, because there's a whole lot of energy that's moving out there right now. It's moving, shaking, transforming, and we're definitely feeling it. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Mary. Hi, you're here, Mary. Thank you so much. So just out of curiosity, for those of you that are watching, joining, thank you so much. This is, again, like Michael and I are very public. We share everything. We're very comfortable in that space because we just feel we're all in it together. And us in this dynamic that we're in, we have a responsibility to ourselves. We have a responsibility to this flame we share. And sometimes this flame is really taken care of, and sometimes it's not. It's when it's sort of like let's see, other things are overseen versus the flame. Then there's disruption within it,
or things that are not seen.
or
Right,
things
right.
that are not seen. So as a result of it, there's just a lot happens. So we share things publicly, we put it out because we don't find ourselves different than anybody else. We all go through the challenges and the difficulties and all of that. Hi David, thank you so much.
Hey, David.
And we're all in it together uh, because we're all part of the frequency fields. We're part of bringing the light onto earth. We're all part of the divine alignment that is here to visit the shadows and not allow the shadows to live through us, but for our light to live through. So that's why we share everything that we do, and we're public about it. So let's just start. So we want to first hear from you. How you doing? How was it going into the new year? How's this last 10 days been? Because today is a major portal, is the 1/1/2020. So we have like number 6 here. We also have, again, the relationships. The whole year started with the relations. Everything that we're in relation to is multiplied. So when you are not in the truth of that relation within and without, it is blasted open. It is totally seen. It is exposed, and it's only magnified to like the 20th is the best that I can say. Hi, Valerie. Thank you for joining.
Hi,
I
Valerie.
appreciate
Thank you
it.
for coming back.
So much love. And so as a result of it, you can't hide from yourself. You are being given the opportunity for everything to be seen. All parts of you has to be seen, because in 2020 and beyond, everything is about the divine alignment. And if you're not in divine alignment, that is also exposed very
Right.
fast, very, very quickly. Hi, Demetrius. You're
Demetrius. Thank
finally here.
for
Thank you
coming
so
back,
much.
Demetrius. Thank you.
So want to know how's your last 10 days been? Has it been rocky? Has it been balanced? Has it been turmoil? Has it been disruptive? Has it been smooth? Give us some insight about how it's been, as we just want to first
Yeah.
hear from you before we share, because there's been quite a bit that some of you have seen on our end, and we'll be raw and real about it, and just want to know how you are. So Mary, for you it's been smooth so far. That's wonderful.
Beautiful. David,
Glad
it
to
says
hear.
it has had its challenges, yet through observation of self and incoming energies.
Is how you
There's
respond.
vibes.
Okay, that's fine.
And Valerie, I know you feel a lot. How have you been feeling? I know there's a lot of energies that come through. You've been with us quite a bit. Anything that you're feeling through your well-being in these first 10 days, what has come up? Or
Mhm.
anyone else that wants to share, Kim, anyone that just wants to share if there's been tumultuous energy, if there's been things that have come up, if there's areas that you're just aware of.
Yeah, you've been
Okay.
feeling Valerie's saying, I've been feeling the need to go deep within to purge anything that is still hiding. Yeah, I've stepped away from Facebook for a beautiful. It seems so loud. Yeah. And Valerie's also said the energy pulls me in and look at me and answer me. Da, da, da. Okay, got you. Thank you so much, Valerie, for that. Let's see. Demetrius, I've had my ups and downs, emotional and mental state of mind. Okay, so you've had
Yeah.
it too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would definitely agree. I mean, Demetrius, there's been a lot of emotional energies that have been moving through, especially affecting the mental state of body.
Okay.
And we would love to know your name, the Edgy Indian.
Thank
it
you
sounds
for
like
doing.
you're witnessing the lunar eclipse right now. We would love to know what your name is versus just your YouTube name, so
Yeah,
we can
and where
call
you're
you
joining
and where
us
you're
from.
joining us from. That would be wonderful.
So here we are. This is it. I want to start maybe, Michael, with this weekend. So I
Sure.
made a post I made a post today on this Venus Friday, because there's this. just like I don't follow any of the propaganda in the mainstream, I certainly do not follow any propaganda in the spiritual community. That just doesn't resonate with me. And there's always, I consider, I call it Uggs spirituality, when people just wear a lot of Uggs shoes that all want to be the same. Like, I just doesn't, it doesn't resonate with me. There's a lot of collective energy around this weekend. There's a lot of pool energy, just as it was in 2012. Oh my God, the Mayan, end of the Mayan. There's all that energy. I feel again it's being exposed this weekend. And there's a lot of this concern energy. There's a lot of this, I am picking up like fear-based energy. Oh my God, what's gonna happen? This alignment hasn't happened in, I don't know, 40 years, and this year. Okay. All these alignments are all part of our experiences. As I shared the post today, for me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Every single day, we're getting influxes of the rays of light coming in. Every day that is happening. Sometimes what is happening from the galactic sun to the central sun, coming through the heliospheres down to Earth, to us, we're feeling it. I feel the dizziness. I feel like the vertigo coming in. I feel the nausea, and I feel it's coming in. And then whatever needs to be, again, more in alignment with divine. My thing is, I just don't buy into that. And there's a lot happening on a collective energy between Australia's fire, between Puerto Rico's mm, earthquake, between Iran and US and Iraq and the war, all of these energies. That's why it started the Tuesday night collective energy of just holding the vibration, calling upon the bringers of light, the way showers, the star seeds, the earth angels, the beacons of light. Can you just hold the vibration of light and really blast it? Because this is when it's caught, and from here forward. And for those of you that did not watch my live stream 2 days before the New Year's Day, I really talked about what's coming up in 2020 and beyond. And there's a lot that has to do with the UN agenda, part of the one world control, that we have incarnated into to put an end to this, to just hold the vibration of light. So this weekend, these next 3 days, I certainly have no interest what the spiritual community talks about. And there's that energy of concern, worry, the 3 days, all of that stuff. I laugh at it, frankly, because I know that I am only to anchor the highest vibration of divine alignment in me and be fully anchored into the crystalline diamond quarter of Gaia, in this pristine crystalline diamond frequency, and stay here and not go anywhere else. It is the alignment of my divine feminine, divine masculine, and it's got power in it. And any of us that are not coming from that place, we're being thrown around in this energy. And we're definitely having the shadow parts of ourselves showing up, and they're showing up to kind of like throw you like this, to get you in a little bit of a check in with you, really check in. Like, hey, where are you? You're here, like, hold you accountable. You're here as a bringer of light, and you're here to radiate light. And what are you doing? You're getting pulled into here. You're getting pulled to here. You're getting pulled into your lower 3 chakras. You're getting pulled into your density and shadows, and you want to stream your light. Like, there is a real check-in with this 2020 energy multiplied. Like, you have your shit together? And here it is. You better show up. And if you're not showing up, it's definitely being shown and revealed to you. And that's for this weekend. That's why I posted the note. I was like, I ain't going nowhere. I'm staying right here, and I'm honing it, and I'm anchoring it within myself. Like this morning, I was telling her, just one second, this morning, as I was doing the prayer, I was staying in this prayer. And just when I get to the spirit guides, Master Yeshua showed right to my right field, right? He was so close. Usually he's further out as just light, but in more of his form, he showed up right in front of me. And I just had this staring with him. Then El Moria showed up to his right, and Master Saint Germain showed up to his left, and we all just looked at each other. And I stayed there, they stayed there. I stayed there, they stayed there. I didn't move, they didn't move. We all just looked at each other, and I just allowed the vibration to just be honed in me even stronger. So this is what it is, and moving forward. So I wanted to just share that and open the space so Michael can speak.
And so I definitely agree, honey. When a lot of things are moving through the universe, it's always important to feel what the resonance within yourself is, to see what's your truth. Obviously, there's many things happening around the planet. There's many things happening on different days. There's gateways. There's different energies. The most important thing, I think, is really to tune in with yourself and to honor that space. If you're feeling very, very sleepy, honor that sleepy space. If you're feeling anxious or feeling energy, dive into that energy. I know for myself, there's been a lot of emotions coming through, and so it's very easy to say, like, oh, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening, because across the washboard there are so many events happening. But if we looked at every day of every year, there's always an opportunity to really to look within yourself to see what's going on. And I find even within 2020, there's been this big euphoria, and there's this big energy of moving into 2020. And a lot of times what happens is, in that euphoria that comes all the way within it, sometimes the bubble pops, because we're always looking for something like this grand, amazing, huge, epiphany of what's happening. And then before we know it, what I've recognized and what I've seen is, it's important to look at what is not being looked at. For our event, there was so much preparation going into it. Yet if we're not looking at our own stuff, if we're not looking deeply at some of the most core wounds, or if we're not looking at the deepest things within ourselves, they're going to show up. It's that 2020, our relationship within us. So we cannot hide from it. That truth has to come up. It has to be seen. And to recognize everyone is exactly where they are at. Each person, there's so many things happening when you read Facebook or you read social media. There's so many things happening everywhere. And just to see, to honor it, to look at it, but to, whatever you don't resonate, toss it out. Whatever you do resonate, bring it in. Whatever you feel within your heart, that's the most important thing, because it is really our inner path. And what I honor, and what I've noticed is, it's really that importance of what I see from many people that are writing that I resonate with, is that also time to go within when there's a lot coming up, because as it's coming up, it's giving us the opportunity to dive deeper, to really find, everyone can explain what's happening, but it's only our own truth within ourselves to really feel what's happening. It's all like little popcorn seeds that are giving that opportunity to lead us of where we're going. Yet in our own experiences, in our own trauma, in our own drama, that's the time really to see what is surfacing up, because all of it's coming up to be resurrected. All of it's coming up to be transmuted. All of it's coming to be brought in ways. And obviously, there are powers out there that are adding to it. There's energies that are circulating it. And I find the most important thing is to anchor that light, to ground that light, and to do whatever we can. Because I just remember before the new year of Honey and I, we were like placing our feet in the cold water. And it was amazing to see what would happen when you just get out into nature, silence everything, and just really ground, really stay still, and really feel that connection. Because I find that's one of the most important things, is to anchor that light, as well as when things come up, also to jump into it. And I feel that there's been so much that's been coming up. It's almost like, overwhelming, because it doesn't just come up once. I feel like there's events that come up, it's like one. And if it doesn't get your attention, there's two. There's another attention, comes up three. And it's almost like, as these are coming up, there's no choice but to recognize it. So we have no other choice but to see it and to confront it, because usually what I see is what's coming up. There's so much deeper energy. On the surface, it's coming up as energies to be brought forward, but underneath it, there's so much depth. And a lot of it, which I'm personally that I see, is it's hitting like the most sensitive places, the deepest parts that we may have thought we've cleared. We may have thought that, okay, it no longer has a power of me, or what I recognize in myself, patterns that I feel that they've been cleared, but the same patterns come back around to be revisited, so I can see, where is it that I haven't found that full shift in the decision of allowing it to keep happening. Because if it keeps happening over and over and over, then somewhere within my system, I haven't fully resurrected the truth of what's happening, because it's coming up to be dismantled. It's coming up to be released because a lot of these old programs, these conditions have been sitting for so long now to be released. And so it's, I know, as painful as it is, as hard as it is, as discomfort it is, it's that time of highest growth. And that highest growth obviously can only be brought forward when we put that time into it.
So thank you for that, Michael, because there's a lot to let's read a little bit here because there's bunch to cover here. So let's say from here, David says it's challenges and choosing observation to higher. So okay, so I did say that. Okay, let's say Valerie, you've been feeling to go deep within, definite purge anything that's still holding. I've stepped away from Facebook for the time being. It's just so loud. It's very, very true. Energy poses. So wherever you are, Kim says, being very inward when I'm not, the external energies are wild, very tired, trying to take care of myself. Beautiful. Name is Ashish. Thank you, Ashish. Thank you for joining us. I can't guess right now, darling. You can just say where you are because we're very focused here right now. Thank you so much. Danielle's music. I love Tuesday. I played it 3 times that night. Oh yeah, the live meditation. Thank you so much. That was very, very powerful. We talk about that in a second. And it's important to hold our light, remaining grounded, balanced, neutral. We are the portals of light. Absolutely. The light is pouring through us into Gaia. Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's go over a few things. So we last met each other 2 weeks ago, where we were having our fight. We were getting ready also to. We had just gone passing through the 1221 Stargate, and then we were getting ready for our New Year's Eve major event, and we also had our live stream with our Sacred Sunday Spiritual Circle, and also the announcement that we'll be starting this Tuesday night silent meditation. So all of this was in our plate. And going into 2020 for us, like we also invited you to do your timeline. I don't know how many of you got to do that. We had been visiting this timeline. And for me, 2 months in advance, I knew this day is coming, this event that we had for 2020, and the amount of preparation for it, energetic level, frequency level, and what's in it, and also for these 33 participants to take part, because there was a lot behind the scene that had to take place to set the vibration, set the tone, set the energy of the place, and also the communication, holding each individual responsible for their part, doing their part. That means visiting the last 10 years timelines, so that way they can see whatever still has a trigger over them, to then bring it so that we could clear it in that space. And for Michael to do the shamanic clearing, and me bringing the light language and clearing it, and also moving it into everything that was guided within the 3-hour event that we had, so individuals can come into this divine alignment and then go into the 2020 divine unity gateway together, because that's this portal this 2020 is. And if you're not in that divine alignment, it would show up. If it didn't show up before, it's definitely showing. Hi, Dan. Thanks for joining. It would definitely show up. So for Michael and I, between that 1221, the event that we had here, and also that preparation, I felt like I had put the amount of hours I had put in was an overwhelming amount of hours. And I usually don't complain because it is what it is. It has to be done. And holding individuals accountable to showing up with their heart. And I really want to speak to that. To those of you that are watching, you're aware, you're conscious, you are co-creators of your reality. You are bringers of light. You are earth angels. You are star seeds. You are beacons and way shores. And I really want to address this, because as I address this before, holding you accountable, as I hold myself accountable, and I certainly hold Michael accountable, when you are being presented the opportunity to show up with your heart, I really want to address this. That space is a supreme power, where your I am presence and the divine you, the divine alignment of you is coming in to be embodied into your physical garment and anchored into earth. There's supreme power in this place. It is not weak. Most individuals confuse the emotional body with their heart, and that's why they show up very, very weak. They show up with all their emotional garbage versus, and they when they speak of love, it's very weak. It has no power, it has no presence, it has no force, it has no supreme light in it, because it's not anchored in properly in the sacred divine feminine and sacred divine masculine, and it's going to show up. What we're being asked is the alignment of our sacred divine feminine, sacred divine masculine, balanced inside and delivery. And that is what is being exposed when you're not coming from that place. So for the New Year's Day event, I had to hold people, because people had to respond back. I had to hold them really accountable, because many of them, they had to read something and they had to read it with the power of the heart and show up. And you could totally feel they were just falling left and right of that vibration. So how do you go through a divine gateway with that alignment? You can't. It's gonna be shown. And that is something that Michael and I came into also in our dynamic, because that was the place that was definitely um, not coming in that place. We'll talk about that in a second. So I really want to address that. If you're being given the opportunity to show up with your heart, it is to show up with the full presence of your divine truth and that supreme essence that is completely in you, all of you, all parts of you coming in. And it's honing it in with supreme, when I'm talking about power. It is not weak. And I feel like whenever I see individuals that are carriers of this and they show up so weak, it is such a turnoff. It is just like, seriously, like, I don't want to judge it. I'm not here to judge it, but it's like, if this is the part that is called of your light to be the beacon of light, how are you being a beacon of light when you're living from your lower three chakras, and you're coming with your lower self, your lower mind, your lower heart, and you're coming to be a stand and radiate this light? So I want to share this with you, because as we moved into 2020, that week, there's been a lot happening. Number one, as we move through the first, second, and third, the gateways open up like this, more pulsing light behind the central sun, behind Helios Vestas, through the galactic sun. We entered that wave. And then we have the 2020 relations. All your relations in you are being faced, seeing each other. So all the bullshit is being exposed. And I really want to speak to that. So you can't hide from yourself. All your truth and all parts of you is being revealed to you in your revelation. And when it's being revealed, it is, when there is a revelation, there's a strength to then rise in your resurrection. So if you haven't arisen from your resurrection, because more debris has to clear out of you, then you can really rise. And once you've arisen, you're not going to be fallen. You have arisen, and that's where you are, and forward, not the other way. So all these excuses can no longer play there. All these other excuses, I take 2 steps back, I go forward. No, it's there and move forward. Simple.
And I believe that a lot of it is with the art of compassion, the art of patience, and the art that as these big movements are coming through, that no matter how much is being brought forward, it's not us, it's the collective energy, it's timelines, it's everything that is coming through. And the most important thing that I've learned in my own journey is the the more we don't personalize it, the more we don't judge it, the more it does not have effect over us in what comes forth, because everything that's coming forward, everything that's coming up is a gift, to be clear. Everything that's being awoken within us is ancestors, is generations, is for the whole collective. And a lot of it that's coming out that still has effect over us is even more healing, more compassion, more patience, more areas to see how much it is. Because if it still has a huge charge over us, if it's still pulling us in directions, if it's still creating frustration, anger, then there's something within us that still keep pulling us back to where we haven't quite accepted it. And I've always learned within myself that I always see that where I'm not accepting it in others, somewhere within myself, I'm not, I have not fully accepted it within me. Somewhere
Yeah.
there is still resistance because there's some frustration or anger that's still pulling me into that. And so then I have to go back into, why am I not accepting that? Why is it still pulling me? Because somewhere either angers me when I do it, or maybe there's somewhere that I haven't quite looked at within a childhood, within a wound, within that keeps pulling into it. And that's why I find through all of these gateways, through all of these powers, through the divine nature, our action is, when it comes up in daily life, is how is it affecting our emotional body? I know for me, I am as transparent as possible. My emotional body, because it's so sensitive, I'm aware that I give my emotions to that pain. And because that sensitivity comes
You
through the
don't give your
pain,
emotions to the brain. You give your power
well,
to the
I
emotions.
give my power
Yeah.
to the emotions. Now, that emotions is in the pain body.
Yeah.
That pain body is sitting there. And I find that many of you, I'm sure,
You know what? That's correct. It's not a pain body. It's a body that has been
well, there's an experience.
that has been just infiltrated in pain.
But if you think about it, take body away, there is a pain.
Yes.
Body, experience, whatever it is, there's pain right there. So somewhere there is this energy of pain.
That's correct.
That hurts,
Right.
wound that has been there. And so a lot of times when these very, very sensitive moments come up, I feel as an empath, I feel as many of us, it's very powerful that we have such a reception to feel so much, to feel what it is. It's almost like a double-edged sword. We can feel so much of our intuitive psychic nature, but at the same time, we can also feel our own emotions, and we can feel it in such a heavy level. And it's interesting when we look at that emotion, when I look within myself, how much power am I giving to that emotion? How much is that of that pain is being brought forward? Because sometimes when that pain hasn't been dealt with in the proper way, or what I've learned about myself, when that pain is either in a mode of shock, disbelief, amnesia, which the mental body wants to like ignore it, because all of a sudden I'm aware that if I've done something, and then I'm aware that I'm not fully clear of it because the mental body wants to protect, the ego wants to protect. For me, how much of that pain is actually being the director versus the heart? And it's been amazing to really see within what it does to my heart, what it does to my actions, and what does it do to my strength? Because that pain is, it's almost like it's the illusional veil that's not allowing the heart to speak. And even when I've looked at through years and years of experience in healing arts, that pain is on top of the heart, and that the heart can't fully express itself when that pain is sitting on top of it. That pain has to be recognized, it has to be transmuted with compassion, with love, with honor, and most important, with value and respect. Because the gift of, even this morning when I woke up, when I really sat there and I had tears coming through, and I looked at that pain, is the gift for us to really have a deep relationship with it, really to go through it. Because that pain, sometimes it hurts so much that our natural reaction is sometimes just to fight it, to look at what's happening, to get angry, to get upset at. But I really started looking deeply and like, well, what happens when we can just look at that pain? And now we can say, come on, pain, come on over here. And now really look deeply and say, how can this pain and I form a relationship together, not in separation of how bad, how horrible, how ridiculous. How can we bring a loving relationship so that pain no longer has this power? Because it doesn't have power. We give it power. I give it power. I am directly honest. I've given it power so many times. I've given it power to it because it's in that emotional state of unanchored energy, not grounded, not aligned, not feeling the fullness. And I know we've all gone through that because we're very, very, very sensitive beings. And on these time frames, it's so interesting to see when these painful bodies experience energy, when it comes up, it really comes down to how do we experience it? What do we do with that pain? And really, in all this ascension, what is our action or response or reaction to it? Because that is the biggest test. When the pain comes through, everyone is looking right upon us and saying, how are we going to deal with this experience right now? I know, when I was little, I could scream like a banshee. I could have a temper tantrum. I can get so frustrated at it. Or as the more we start to embrace it, the more I'm starting to look deeply, what can be the graceful way to move through it so that it gives me that ability to not only experience but to learn and to share from it. And that to me, I think, is one of the biggest pieces, that through all these gateways, through all these eclipses, through all these full moons, whatever energy you want to give to it, so be it, so it is. But how is our own response to it and that reaction? Because I know I still have a lot of work. I know my time and energy is being invested to look deeply into it, because I don't want to keep having this old program, run. I saw what you saw, Demetrius. That reprogramming of the mental body still has this effect on us. There's still a very heavy, heavy mental stimulation
So
around
let's
us.
let's talk some examples, Marco,
Yeah.
so it doesn't go circular. Like, because I like really strong, grounded energy. So thank you so much for your comments here. I do want to break a couple of things down around this. So we're in the 10th day of January. So this as this began again, the first, second, and third. This the gateways that they open, there's more influx of these rays of light coming in. Then we have this 2020, the twos coming in, multiplying, as I said, and it's all about the relations. So this the relation of ourselves, the little I am, the little self, to the big I am. It's the relationship of the physical body to the emotional body, to the mental body, to the etheric, to the spiritual body. All these bodies, right, are in relation. So then we have our aspects, we have our monad, we have our soul and spirit, all coming into the relations. These are the twos. The twos are constant mirror. You're in constant mirror. You don't have to worry about anybody else. It's your own mirror that you are facing over and over and every day, and it's multiplied. So what happens is, like, when you are running, your inner program is still running on an old energy of, let's say, somewhere of a behavior pattern. By the way, for those of you that, if you did not catch my sacred sister Amanda Lawrence's video that she posted this past weekend with behavior pattern, please see that, because it's so beautiful. Because you do have to visit, if there's a pattern that has repeated, it is important to first take acknowledgement. There is a pattern, there is a behavior pattern that has to dissolve. So this 2020 energy will also bring it for you to see it, for you to face it, and no longer bullshit your way, and truly decide to align this. And that's what the gift of it is. And there's like no more of these like sweet talking it, like to get sort of like, how do we say, like, schmooze yourself out of it, because we have done that, not wanting to do it and not taking the full responsibility and accountability. So that part, that's a really good one, and it gives you the ability to really travel back from where you are to a little bit further back and further back, all the way back to identify this behavior pattern, so that way you can change it. Now with us, we can, like, for example, create a new timeline, put into it, and dissolve that. But again, it requires for you to go to the core of it to then be able to dissolve it. And I understand some people have blocked their memory, so it might be hard for them, but you can go to as far as you can go to help shift this. Now, having said that, for example, some of you saw our post that as we had a rough start into our New Year's. We had the most incredible New Year's Eve event, like one of the most profound, amazing New Year's Eve or an event in general. It was There was so much love in this group that was experienced, so much love. And when we come in that love and we're sharing that space of profound grounded love with so many others, guess what's next? The pockets of the debris inside finally are released because they have to transmute. So what's going to happen? They're going to show up. So as Michael and I came back home, it was immediate, instant. What took place? What took place was um, something that would have been just so obvious to me, for between Michael and I wanted to sit in the space of few minutes before going from the New Year's Eve to New Year's Day, that 5 minute, and Michael chose something else. And the next day, there was this very intention of creating our altar, creating all the things to set the vibration, set the tone, what have you. Michael chose from a different part of himself.
I allowed my own to be real. I allowed my old program of guilt, obligation, and especially due to family ties. For those that have a very close family, I grew up not in a religious family, but the Jewish guilt, Catholic guilt, any guilt took over me because I felt this obligation that it was my mother's birthday, my brother was flying out of town, that I put that energy into it versus honoring what was right in front of me, honoring Honey's request, which she spoke to me, and just the nature that this is the most important thing that was placed not only on New Year's, but what was been looked forward to for a very, very long time in the build up of that. And so
For the frequency, for us, us as a union, to align our frequency, and also for 2020, our vision of this year and the next 10 years, all of that. So what happened was Michael prioritized and gave his energy to this other part of himself, to his lower part, lower consciousness, lower mind, and what have you. And that and the old program, and that really was an interruption between him and I, because that brought up so much just disappointment, and like for me it was just shock and surprise. Like, to me it's so obvious, uh, so obvious, because we had spoken about it, and he chose something else. So having said that, the next few days was very difficult because I just could not comprehend it. I couldn't. So we talked about the word compassion. Compassion has a very strong presence. It's not weak at all. It's not sympathy. When you are in your crystalline diamond, you have compassion. When you stay here, it's a very strong divine quality. So out of compassion, out of love, like, I will not accept this as a reality into my experience. And I just blew up, completely blew up. And I was like, Michael, you have to leave. So I asked him to leave to go to his mother's house. And I was like, I don't know where you are, where I am. This is a frequency mismatch. So, and that's part of me having standing in my truth, standing on my ground, and hold them accountable out of love, out of compassion. Like, where are you? Where am I? How do you just let yourself give into this part of you? And of course, he didn't mean to do it to be disrespectful. He didn't mean to do it to be malicious. He didn't mean to do it to any of that.
It was all done in a level that I chose in a way to follow an old program. And by choosing that, I wasn't giving the awareness, the consciousness, and what comes forward in my own heart, because I was coming from a place of guilt. And what was interesting is before I left, there was somewhere in my heart that says, I really don't want to go, but there was still this old obligation, this old program that was coming through. And so as it came through, obviously, it not only hurt Honey,
Yeah.
but it brought up a lot of disappointment. It brought up a lot of feelings of not being heard. It brought up a lot of feelings of not being valued. It brought up all of this energy that came up out of it on the day of New Year's on a portal and in that.
And also the trust between Michael and I as a union, because we're not in a regular relationship, we're called to service. And for me, it's very clear when we are of service for the higher mission, like these things do not, they cannot take part. So it was very, very interesting space. So I asked Michael to go, and while dealing with this and those first few days, I wanted to be with myself, and I was like, I am going to honor this, and I'm going to stay here. You need to go figure this out, and you need to decide how much are you willing. You have a responsibility as a sacred divine masculine. And how much are you willing to give your power continuously to the old program, old conditioning? And how long this old program or conditioning will be used as an excuse? I no longer will accept that into my reality. My reality is I have compassion, but I'm not going to stand there and watch it anymore, because it's a choice. It is a choice. And once we recognize this is a choice, then we can do something about it. And that kicks us out of this victim consciousness. Well, it was the old program, it was the old conditioning that took over me. To me, enough. These are enough. Enough to enough to you have to somewhere in you put an end to this victim consciousness. Well, it was my old programming, it was this, it was that. Yes, it's there, but you're still the decision maker. And all along the way, your I am is available, your presence is available here to stand into it. Now, I'm not saying within that there are not patterns that are also being revealed,
and beautiful
to
gifts that are
beautiful
also
gifts
coming
that are
up
part of
in a
it.
trigger that's coming up, like you said,
Exactly.
Demetrius, because with each trigger there is that unique
Absolutely.
level of what comes up, because even on my end there's the gift and there's the beauty of how much anger, how much upset, how much not only was that within a pattern of me, but how much it created so much anger in Honey of all the other times that have come up to be brought forward into
That's
its
right.
healing, all the other times that are now being met with light, now being met with love, now being met with compassion. And really, I saw a great quote last night. I'll quote my beautiful dear heart sister Tanya Colucci. She said, "The ones that trigger us the most are the ones that set us free." And it's and I sat there and I read that, and I really sat there. It's like, those that make us the most angry, and you said this, Demetrius, about forgiveness. No, those that make us the most upset, angry, are those that are actually giving us the ability to forgive. They are our teachers of forgiveness. They are our ability to see how how powerful this energies come forth and how long it has a hold over us, because obviously those energies that have come up are here to be cleared. And if they come up clearly and release, then they don't have as much power. They don't have as much control over us. So it's really, our reaction of what comes up through it to see how much of that. And not that I'm using a trigger as a dismissive level, because it's not fair for me to cause harm on something that Honey has done. It's a vital, vital importance that not only do I listen to her, not only do I hear her, not only do I recognize the divine energy that is being beamed down, which we know, as many of you, that feminine energy in our planet gets it quicker than a lot of the masculine, because we're moving just a step slower. The creators, the mother of divine, they feel that immediately. So there's times where, as exhausted as she is, she's still showing me and telling me where I may be a step behind or just not aware of it in that moment because of my own mental level. But what I'm going back to is, when we allow ourselves to be set free, we realize the ones that upset us most are actually clearing and giving us the freedom to really revisit a lot that has been deemed down. Now, that doesn't mean it's an excuse or it's a reason or like, oh, this is a good thing. It's just coming up to see what wants to be revisited, because I know deep in my heart, and Honey knows this very well, that there's not a bad bone or intention that I wanted to do that. I was so my lens was so limited that I could only see what I need to get accomplished so I can come back and do what Honey and I wanted to do. But because my lens was so small, it couldn't feel the fullness of what was in my heart. And even in that level of pain that came through not only through honey, but my own pain of feeling so bad because I didn't quite understand it at first because my mental body was trying to put it all together. But I told you I didn't give it time, and it was replaying this like feeling of like not trying to get in trouble, not doing something bad, not being in a position where all of a sudden there's a moment that was done, and then I go back like, oh my gosh, I didn't even recognize what happened because there was that level of just
And
not
it
being
is, and
aware.
this sometimes happens if you look at yourself. Whenever we separate from our divine truth, whenever we separate from our I am presence, that power, we retract the energy
Mhm.
and it just gets retracted to this very narrow lens.
Yeah,
It does very much feel like a fog comes over
yeah,
and it clutters your judgment because you suddenly can't see anything
exactly.
beyond this tiny little particle, if you want to call it that. So what happens in that, and then something comes in and snaps you out of it, then it's like as if you woke up like, whoa, what just happened? What did I just do?
Mhm.
And that's because the action came from the most limited part of the person that was honed in like that, and it just totally lost focus on anything. And this is a very dangerous place as a light workers. So I want to really address this. We are to stay in this place and bring the energy in. Stay in this place, bring in energy, but not stay in here. That's when we cause problem to ourselves and we cause problem to everything and all around us. There's this beautiful, it's just like the breath. It's exactly like you take this deep in breath in, right? And then you breathe it out and you stay in the out breath. You don't come back to your in breath. What the heck do you think is going to happen to you? What do you think is going to happen to you? You hyperventilate after you lose it because what happened? So there's this dance, there's this constant dance. That's why we have the breath. The breath is the indicator to be in the ebb and flow on life, to take the breath from the great creator, the divine mother, and then to bring it in, right? In this divine mother, divine father, divine mother, divine father, divine mother, divine father. It's constantly. So we're living in that trust and that flow. But when we retract all of our energy, now I have to say this, there are times you gotta take it in and hone the energy in. And I do that. But then I go back in and then bring it in, back in. The problem is when we stuck either there or we get stuck here. That is the problem. And that's what causes harm to oneself and everything else around. And that's why, like Michael, when he snaps out of it, he there's this amnesia, like what just happened? Because he was so narrowed in just this one. He lost touch with everything else. And that causes so much hurt, not only to himself, to everybody else. And for me, it's like, look, I'm going to hold you accountable. You cannot do that. I don't know where you are, but you got to stay right here. Stay here. It's okay to deliver, but you got to stay in that center. That's called being centered. That's where your heart is here. Is the navigation in which allows you to be centered, balanced, and harmonized in both. You cannot be balanced when you're coming into your head. You're out of balance. You cannot be balanced when you're coming in your root chakra. You are balanced. If you're living from your upper chakra, you're in balance. If you're living from your lower three chakra, you're in balance. The only way that you are in balance and when you're in your heart, because that's the place that navigates this constant balance between the sacred divine feminine, sacred divine masculine. And that's when you're in the center of your crystalline diamond heart. That's when you know the truth. That's when you have the power and the presence and the creative energy and the creative first. And you're not going to be like this, wobbly either. You're grounded. And this is really to hold each of us accountable in the day. Where are you at every day? Every single day starts today. Where's your balance? Where is that centered place?
And yes, Valerie, the
What
issue
is she
was
saying?
you said was the issue between Michael chose to honor his mother or Honey in that
No,
particular situation.
not at
Basically,
all.
it was not it's going even deeper. It wasn't it I didn't honor my heart. I felt my heart was being pulled in the obligation to see my mother on her birthday and to see my brother on the last day. So I wasn't listening to my heart, and I didn't put the importance of really seeing what was before me because I
Oh, no, no,
recognize.
no, one second, one
Yeah,
second. Michael's mom was with us the night before Valerie for New Year's Eve. She was with us for 8 hours, and also all week between the Christmas holiday, we'd seen Michael's mom, Michael's brother that had flown. So
but
we
it
had
was her
spent a lot
birthday.
of time,
It was her
and it was
birthday.
in Jennifer's
I
birthday.
wanted to get her flowers and a card, and I wanted to see her on her birthday
Just
and
one
stuff
second.
like that.
There was no question about that. There was this other family gathering somewhere, and because we had the New Year's Eve, and because for for our calling, we had several things that had to be taken care of, such as the altar. The altar is a huge part of it. So we had to reset our new altar for that day. There were several things that had to take place that day, and and the communication wasn't there. And I had said early before to Michael's mom, I prepared the gifts for her. We were together. I had expressed, because we're facilitating for others, I won't be able to come. I'd communicate that out of love and respect of honoring my truth. So there was very clear in that space, and I got to respond to this. So that's what it was, and we had to communicate, and we had plans. So I just want to clear that for Michael to definitely see his mom and brother, but the thing was, he chose to go first thing in the morning without telling me what time this whole gathering was. It was just the communication was not there, and
And the obligation of the
and he felt
program,
obligation. He had to
obligated
go
for
right in that moment. Which when I woke up, my eyes, I was just shocked and surprised. That's where he was tunnel focused to just there. This other part, that for us to even do our first pray in the morning, none of that. It just, everything went on the wayside, and that's what shocked and surprised me. So that's to answer you, Valerie.
And so with that energy, it was very powerful because what I also learned about myself was when that shock hit Honey, when she got so angry, what I've been learning the past couple of days is really looking deep when I'm in a child. When my dad gets very, very, very angry, there's some
Your
he
dad
gets
used
when
to.
my dad used to get very, very angry as a child, what it would do to me. And I don't know if any of you have been around, an extreme level of anger. Now, I love this divine heart to the highest level, but when she,
I
but
was.
when
I
when she gets
was
into her Kali, when she gets
angry.
into her Kali energy,
Angry.
no
Angry.
one wants to see that Kali energy.
Angry.
And when that Kali energy came out, it came to a point that it was like shock and freeze. And what was very powerful about this, and it was a big revelation last night when I was talking to Honey about it, because sometimes I need to talk through things. I
Yeah.
need to go through it. And we were going through it, and I was like, what is the pattern? What was the pattern that keeps coming up when this pain comes? Because somewhere in my family, when my dad was getting very upset and angry, and he'd leave the house and he was like having like this huge tantrum as an adult, but really like a child, that when I recognized that, or when I saw it, it froze me. And not only did it freeze me, but it almost like retracted in this level of fear of like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do. I don't want to be around that big bad wolf because it's out of control. What it did is it put so much, not only fear, shock, but this feeling of like of pain, of like, oh my gosh, what happened? What went wrong? Did I do something? Is something like the pain hit me so
Yeah.
quickly out of that again, as empaths, it's one thing when we feel pain, but you know what? When we also feel pain because we created pain out of an action to another person, and that is like almost, it's like a double edge. It's like I feel the pain within myself, but I also feel the pain with Honey. So it's like two loads of pain. Even though we're supposed to stay focused on our own level, I felt two levels. And when there's those two levels of pain, then it doesn't give me the full recognition to hold the deepest level of compassion for the cause and reaction of what just happened. It's almost like the pain's happened so much, it's put me into a state of like freeze. And then it's like, okay, how come in that pain it's limiting me not to provide the compassion of what just happened in the situation. Somewhere I go directly to that pain because there's an old program running it. I did something wrong. Okay, oh my gosh, I'm so bad. And there's like either this internal judgment, this criticism, I did something bad, I'm
So
gonna be punished.
those
All
are the
these
things
things
we've
that
been this
have
week
been
we've been
moving
talking
through.
through this, like what's happened, because I wanted to understand the mechanics of Michael, what happened, because he just shuts down. And for me, I like it's been very crystal clear. Okay, so we are of service, and here is this, and I communicate very easily and very well, very clear. So here's this Michael, this we got to take care of this day. It's very specific, very important. But when Michael ignores it, doesn't honor, doesn't it, it's such a shock to my system, because we're in two different frequency field, and it's like, where are you, where am I, how can we serve our calling when you're that off, in so pulled into the 3D, and here I am, like I can't. And for me it's like, and we've experienced this several times, like I can't be the only one carrying this flame together. You got to come here. And what happens? So for me, it's been more the mystery. What happens that you go there and you get so pulled? What is that? And how can that be resolved, transmuted, transformed? Because he has that incredible calling. He has that will. He has that that desire, but the will to move him from there to there somehow gets cluttered. And I don't know, and it's been this thing
And
to
there's one
to
more thing
really
that just
move
came.
through it.
And
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
one more thing that just came through while we're talking about this, because I was really looking at my childhood, and I was really
So this is
looking
what
at,
we're
and
sharing this,
so
because maybe it will
so
benefit you, because we've been
yeah,
talking through this, like, and also
yeah.
just 1 second with that. And for me, I hit my end, like I hit my absolute end. And for me to stand up to the universe, I will not accept this as a reality. And there's been a few times this has happened. I would absolutely not accept this. And if you want us to move forward, you're going to have to take care of this. And you take care of it now. And you're going to go deep and take care of it, because this is not, we cannot move together forward if this keeps coming up, because it has come up a few times.
And one thing that I recognize what was Honey when she
And
was
within
talking,
that also, for me to see what made me that angry, that level of anger I touched, I had to go back, and I had to read, and that's been part of me, go back and really visit certain things that were, so for me to also dissolve that in me.
because that within her, because there was so much anger, so much rage, so much that has been brought up, that shows the amount that's still there, that's ready to become up, that's
Yeah,
ready to bottle
that's
up.
been part of me.
It's interesting when we come out in such rage, anger, and a sense of just pure Kali fire, then that has been bottled up so long that it's going to come up in every which way, from not being heard, not being accepted, not being valued, not being celebrated. All the energies which
Yeah.
we know from culture, from growing up in the Middle East, just looking at where the feminine energy is within our society, of how that's been suppressed, that is coming up into the highest level, so it can be cleared, and it can
Definitely.
be released. And so that's why I always look at it as a gift, but also what Honey I'm so grateful for is holding that accountability, because I was aware that somewhere in my family, when my dad had those really emotional outbursts, and this is something for each of you, how many times have you seen a situation where either you have done something to harm someone, or someone has done something to harm you, and that accountability hasn't been placed
Yeah.
forward, where we sat down and we consciously talked about it? What was really being brought forward? Because what I've also learned is an old program that came through me as a boy growing up, playing sports, being in things. Oh, if someone comes and hits you, and we just move forward. It's kind of like this old little joke is like, how can guys just go through all these things? They punch each other, they have a fight, and all of a sudden they're hugging and holding hands. Not hugging, but like they're like pals at the end, because they realize they just had to release the energy. Something about men and the old programming is, problems can happen, things can happen, but somehow by the end of the day,
The emotions are not addressed at all. You just move forward.
The emotions aren't addressed, but somewhere there's been a release of that emotion because the men, which I've seen this happen many times, where two men can be really upset at each other, then they release it in a fight or they say something, but then all of a sudden at the end of the day,
Yeah.
they're back in their friendship because there was like an easy, like, okay, slap on the ass, it's okay, And I know that is also due to a lot of times that feminine energy being very, very, very sensitive, and that sensitivity not being embraced in the masculine, not being spoken about, because it's always good to express that energy, to release that energy. And sometimes us men, I'll take the responsibility, we'll do something, and then we'll just kind of poo-poo it and move forward because we're thinking, oh, it's okay, it makes you stronger, it's all right. And it's not all right, because we have to revisit
And
it.
that's the thing, to bring it to my core attention. It is not okay with me that when you choose you when you choose to give yourself to this part of you, and it has an impact, and for you just brush it off. and
Mm.
and for us in our 3 years, there's been a lot of that experience, and I just hit
Mm.
my end. I had to be like, I will absolutely not accept this any longer. There is accountability. Yes, we do have our child patterns that are coming up, but there's an accountability and responsibility to ourselves to do no harm to ourselves and others.
And I agree with you, Valerie. I
Yeah.
feel both are of equal importance, because I do believe you, Valerie, when you say, I believe we are all being triggered to pull up old childhood wounding that has been hiding. Cannot agree
Correct.
more with you.
Absolutely.
A lot of old patterns are coming up for review and dissolving. All close relationships are acting as a catalyst in this process. Totally resonate with it. I
Absolutely.
really feel when we look at divine unions, when we look at those in service, these are coming through because these are being come through because that's what's happening in the collective right now.
Yes.
And those that are serving that in the collective, it has to go through us because we're serving that back in our own experience.
And that's why we share it publicly,
and our
because
own
that's why we don't hide it. Okay, here, there's no difference. We're going through
in
it.
our own relationship. And what's really, really powerful is watch what the universe does, because right when you think there's going to be a big whammy that comes, all of a sudden 5 days later, when we get a call that, God bless, it could have been so much worse, that Honey's mother went into,
Yeah,
an
so in the middle of this, then my
then
mother
an
has a
ac-
car
a
accident.
car accident, and then
So, yeah.
what was really powerful about that was,
And what comes out of
what
that?
comes out of that, and then what even goes deeper in the relationship of brother, relationship of mother, relationship of loved one, and all the things of, okay, these are the energies that are be coming up in this situation. It's always interesting how those energies intensify. It's like always interesting. One strike, two strike, three strikes, how it keeps rising, 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 and then really see what is the theme. Is there a theme of not being heard? Is there a theme of not being valued? Is there a theme of not being listened to? Is there a theme of not being, loved or appreciated? Like, these themes keep coming deeper and deeper and deeper, and then all of a sudden it's like it rises, 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 to where I believe, Demetrius, it is through that unconditional love and light to transform it and to hold accountability, because at the end of the day, that love and light dissolves it completely, and the accountability holds it's the mold that holds it, because that accountability is the recognition, it's the truth. It's really what I find with all light workers, and I speak this personally, it's the responsibility of our own action in our response versus the reaction of how much it plays within us, because every day and every choice, which I'm honing in deeper, every choice of how we react is the pure example of really where we are on our ascension phase. Every action, everything that we do, source, divine, is seeing where are we at in our grace of flow. How
Yeah,
much is
is it
being
a
pulled?
response or a reaction? Those
Right.
are two different
And the
vibrations.
emotions of what's coming through a lot of times is the reaction, because the emotional body, it's coming from that little child, it's coming from that teenager. And when we see that
Or even
it's,
adult.
or adult, when we see that it comes from the response, and that response is like boom, but then you stand in that, like a grounded night, and be like, okay, it's coming right at me, now it's hitting me. Now,
The response is not, the reaction is.
but no, but I'm saying when we can respond in something that has had a trigger
Yeah, the
over us,
response.
and when we have that response
No,
versus
so
versus
I don't feel so. I feel like
it
when
does
there
it,
is
it
a
does let me just
reaction,
finish.
is that,
Let me just
but
finish.
when it
Let me just
comes,
finish.
when you respond, it no longer, it's just a
Well,
there's no.
what I'm saying is
Oh.
when the response comes where you don't have that that emotional reaction, that trigger no longer has a charge over you, because when we can respond in a way that
You're
that
just responding. There's nothing else
right.
in there
So
anymore. Correct.
I'm saying that when we can
Because it's
respond,
healed.
right. So
Correct.
when that response happens and it doesn't pull us, it doesn't upset us, it doesn't take us into a very, very, expanded emotional state, then we realize that trigger no longer has an effect over us. When we have the reaction and it creates all of
That's
this
an
emotion,
indicator.
then
Yeah.
it indicates where is that's
And
still
it's
pulling
not
us.
it's not about what happened. It's the
It's the energy.
emotion that has triggered. It's what was the emotion? Was the emotion sadness? Was the emotion loneliness? Was the emotion frustration? Was the whatever is that emotion? Because that's an energy emotion that's been blocked, that needs to just vibrate back out and be released and transmuted.
Yeah.
And the other part that I want to address about this is that, so as we went through last week, I asked Michael to leave, so he went to his mother's house, and just, I wanted him to be in his space, I wanted to be in my space, and that was very important. That's why also with Facebook we changed the pictures. I said, Michael, I want to be in my space. I'm very clear where I am, and I want to stay here. And part of it is just so tired of service, these two big events, and I needed to just rebalance. I needed some, my goodness, just some inner time, like really just some inner time. So I needed it to be quiet, like Valerie. I needed to pull away inward and take care of just creating art, being in this space. So, and Michael can do what he needs to do to just dive into, to re-examine what it is, because I was very clear, I will not move forward any more step if your alignment is not there with you. I just want, and I had to, and that was part of me, a pattern that I had been breaking in from the Middle Eastern culture, as well as a lot of my mother's saying, like, if you want to be with a man, you don't say anything to him. If you want to have a man, don't speak your truth. And this is part of me, like, no, I will not buy that program. I will speak my truth. I will stand up to what I believe. I will completely voice it with everything I got, and also hold you accountable, like, because that's the accountability that I hold for myself. Like, if you're service to this, then all these other things do not play a factor in it. So let's re-examine this. Or do we want to move forward? Do we not? And if we want to move forward to be of service, then these things cannot play a part in it. So anyway, and what is amazing about Michael, when these things happen, he actually has the desire and the intent, and also the will to go in to discover it.
Just as you have the will and strength when the trigger comes up, you also have the ability to see what has come up in that.
So I always go, I was like, okay, so there's part of me also, if I special reacted, okay, that is more work for me to also do. So I take full accountability, and I dive in very deep to whatever it needs to take, because I'm of service to not just myself, I'm service to my higher calling. So if debris has come up, this debris has got to get out of me very quickly, and it has to be transmuted. So from that place, then what's interesting, so my mom has an accident. So we go to the hospital, we're there for hours. And it was so interesting because that was Sunday. Wednesday, for most of was my rebirth, 8-year anniversary of the day I died, and I was sent back. So I've been also going through all kinds of things. So because I didn't die in the hospital then, I was with my mother, and here she is, not sure what's going on. And we're there for hours and hours. There are all kinds of things. Her chest, her sternum had been fractured. So I was like, wow, look, the universe had really hit it here for her heart to expand. I was very aware of what was happening multidimensionally, and I was holding the vibration to make sure she doesn't go into any surgery. So there was I mean, all kinds of things was happening on my end while Michael had his workshop that night. I was supposed to take part, but this happened. So then he had to go. He
She
was
actually
shaken
called.
up.
I was driving home
Yeah.
to prepare for it. As I'm driving home, she calls me and she tells her mom's. And now imagine, all of a sudden we're going through our highest transformation. Then her mother, which is like a mother to me, was just told, and then I'm in a state of like, oh my gosh, here's like another like thing. And here's the funny thing: when I went home, when Honey said go home, side story, my mom and my uncle somehow went out. They had a late dinner, had a late movie, and I was sitting there at 1:30 in the morning being like, my 74-year-old mother, my 7-year-old uncle are not here. Holy cow, it was a rainy, foggy night. What happened? And guess what fear came up? The fear of a lost one dying, or the fear of losing a lost one. And it was so interesting because now
A loved one.
a loved one, fear of losing a loved one, a very close loved one. Of course, the fear of loss, but put that together with the fear of like a loved one. And so, how interesting that experience happened, that experience which I'm feeling within my own transformation with Honey, but then also with her mother. When this happened, I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And I was like, Honey, do I cancel? Do I go through this? She's like, no, you have
I
it.
said, Michael, go, let me take it. I don't know what's happening in the hospital. So of course I had to hold a space for my Papa Ted, while he was just all shaken up, and for my mom, and to find out what's going on and call upon all the angels. So there's that going on. And then on the back end, the last time my mom was in a hospital, I was with her. She was in coma when I was 7, for those of you know, that fatal car crash. So mom and dad were in coma. I was just by myself. So there's all these things that are coming up in me, like simultaneously. I'm like, and I'm aware of all of it. And so I'm aware of, wow, look at this opportunity that has come up for me to visit this simultaneously. So that's happening. That night had to come back. I had to spend the night at my mom's, and just know that I'm already functioning at just so much exhaustion, right? And then this thing happened with emotionally with Michael, and then now I'm going to this. So it's like hit after hit after hit, and we are in this state. So everything is also coming up. Then at the same time, my brother is on that end to see whether he's coming in. Then my brother is not hearing me on top of it. So he doesn't like to have a conversation, and I like neither does my mother.
And not being heard, not communicated,
I like clear communication.
If her brother is not saying it, if her mother's not saying it, and I'm not doing it, triple whammy.
So that was happening on my end. I'm like, okay, so here I am. So then what happened in me also, like, okay, what's it like? Like, here I'm in this. I do what I gotta do, sort of like what I need to do, right? And I pull in that force, and here I am. I'm just not being heard left and right. There was just so much happening in this space. Yet at the same time, my mom wants to speak her truth, and at the same time, I had to stand up, speak my truth. And this is also another thing to communicate clearly. I no longer am in the place that I used to be 20. Carry it on, like. Again, there's compassion for me. I need help.
Which is beautiful for her to ask.
So it was very important for me. To me, like I called my brother. No, because I usually carry it on like a champ. I just carry it, and I've carried it till
many light workers carry so much,
and not ask for anybody else till I'm just at my absolute exhaustion. So I had to call my brother and say, listen, I need your help. Come here. Let's take care of mom. Let's take care of this. And it was beautiful for me to ask, but I wasn't being heard either on that end. I was like, wow,
Valerie.
this is amazing.
The not being heard is such a powerful one because not being heard, when we look at the depth of it, it's, when we really look at, as I love what you say, from our higher heart into our voice, it's our fullness of expression, our ability to fully be accepted, our ability to fully be
but it communicates you cared for, I care for you, all that. None of that. So let me just move through this. So this was happening, and then on top of it, I'm getting ready for the 8-year anniversary of my rebirth. So, and this happened to be 8 years ago when I was just so sick. and it was the weekend when this happened to my mom, that
And the day
I
before.
I had I had just finished talking to my children when they were little, preparing them that I'm getting ready to die. And that experience, I don't know if any of you ever experienced when you know you're dying, you're deathly sick, and here you are, and then you have to talk to your children, you're getting ready to go. So there was a lot of emotions have already been healed in that, but so I had a chance to talk to my children about that. Do they remember what happened? They couldn't remember anything. And so I had a chance to tell them what happened when my heart stopped and what happened and all of this stuff. So multi-layered in here. So we go through this, and Wednesday is my coming is was my interview with Gia, which now the video is available. And it was so beautiful because I wanted to speak about what happened, and I wanted to also, but let me speak. Let me go back to. Meanwhile, there's this thing with Iran happening, with the Iran now, Iran and
Possible war.
Iraq, and missiles and all of this, and I knew I was getting
Stretched.
messages like this. No, messages like this, honey. Oh my God, oh my God. So we talked to my aunt, my uncle, my aunt, and my aunt, and all of them in Iran. They were grateful that the regime is changing, So the propaganda that is showing here is very different than what is exposed. And we know that. And for me, I know not to get involved, bring the light in. And we had already started our Tuesday night meditation, and it happened to snow, so not everybody could come, but it was available. Can we just hold this light here? So there's just so much that's happening in this space.
You know what's really interesting when I look at all of it in the depth of just the huge metaphor behind it? It's very powerful that we started 2020. It's even more powerful when we look at it's a new decade representing 1, 0, 10.
Yeah.
It's even extremely more powerful when we look at here we are in the first 10 days of the new decade of what's being brought up for us, because it's almost like we had the permission and the ability to go into our timelines and look at everything. And at the same time, what's still coming through, because, mentally we want to say, oh, we're going to clear everything before 2020.
Yeah.
Okay, everything's going to be done. We're going to start the new year. Happy New Year, New Year resolution. Bam, everything's just beautiful.
Nope.
Here's your champagne. Let's just go to the beach and party. No, isn't it funny that the first 10 days, decade 10, and what's happening today, and what all these energies have been coming through, and God bless those who have been going through the smoothest, most graceful, wonderful. You've done your deepest cleansing. God bless for you that are holding that, anchoring that light, because you're exactly where you are. And God bless for all the ones that are going through it like a freaking storm, because we're transforming it. It's just very interesting, the synchronicity of the time and the energy of everything that's moving through this moment now. And I was like, wow, 10 days, decade, look what's happening all in this time period. It's absolutely phenomenal to recognize it, and at the end to really bring the gratitude. I loved what Honey spoke about in Amanda Lawrence's video, is like looking back at the old timelines and going back to those old timelines and seeing how can we reinsert the new timeline. What would be out of love and compassion and even most forgiveness that can help change that timeline and reinsert. It's almost like when I look at the shamanic level, the soul retrieval. We go back to the old, to where the soul departed from the body. And then we come back and bring that soul and bring the love and light to bring that part of the child or the adult or the teenager to bring love into that moment, so that area can be then united within the soul, so there's no more fragmentation of it. A lot of times there's all these fragments that are of loose ends, old programs, old conditions, and really what we know for the higher collective that we're all clearing. And that's where sometimes, even in the frustration of it all, I keep telling myself, okay, it's a mission. We came here to do this. We signed up for this. No matter how difficult, how challenging it is, the universe does not give us anything too big or small that we can't handle. So we have to look at
and
it in the grace of our hearts.
It gives us the opportunity to speak our truth. It gives us the ability to stand in our truth. It gives us the ability to really express that and to really visit whatever is not in true vibration inside to be able to bring it into that alignment. And this week, the gift that was really brought to me with mother being in this car accident, a lot of things between the car accident of the fatal crash that I was in with my mother when I was 7. So 30 some years later, here I am, 8 years anniversary of the day I died. So there are a few things in there that also had to be bridged because I am of service after that 8 years ago. I gave everything up to serve this. So I want to really speak to this if you missed that. When I left in the spirit side, and that which I experienced reset me on the vibration of what I'm here to serve. So my clarity is super clear. And that's why these other things no longer, it's like, no, like I'm pretty clear with this, and I'm just moving forward with what that is. Along the way, whatever needs to be cleared within me will be cleared and handled. So it's with great responsibility, great honor, great compassion. But the strength of compassion is not sympathy, it's not empathy. It's a divine quality that has tremendous strength in it. That means I'm going to stay right here. I know those shoes, but I'm not going over there. You come here. That's a deep level of compassion. I have compassion for you going to walk in those shoes, but I'm not here to do it for you. There's the accountability, responsibility for that. And the other part of it is for myself going through this with my mother, particularly my brother. There was this part, the me and my brother were able to have just such deep heart to heart. And that was very beautiful. I was like, wow, what a gift. And that gift gave me the opportunity for 2.5 hours, 2 hours, sit in my altar, close all the lights, put on some candle, and really go start to journey back about this part not being heard, not really when I'm expressing and I'm saying it and I'm still not being heard, that feeling of helplessness, that feeling like just what else can I do? So I was able to go all the way back from this relationship to my former relationship to, you know, teenage years to, to colleges to teenagers, all the way back to childhood. And I was able to transit all the way back to when I was 4, when I would just at a 4 year old doing what I can to communicate to my mother that I don't want to go to the grandmother's house that has the servant because he touches me. He sexually molests, touches me. But I didn't have the verbal communication, but I'm trying to as a 4 year old say, I don't want to go, I don't want, but I'm not being heard. I'm not. So is that place of safety, not feeling safe, not trust. Like I'm communicated, but I'm not being protected. Somebody's not protecting me. So I had to really clear that timeline, and I had to reinsert it. And from that navigation point all the way up, and some of the other child molestation stuff, I had to really go in there and and um and reinsert the higher vision of what was it like to be heard, to be nourished, to be loved. And I put that in there as in this presence that I can, and change my consciousness so that I can navigate all the way back here. Because a lot of times, like Demetrius, you talk about let's forgive, and the action of forgive is still coming from the mental plane. And sometimes you want to forgive from the heart, but when we haven't transmuted that inside, it cannot be fully forgiven, because the forgiveness energy is for you, that it lifts and liberates you, and it gives you the gift. That's the gift of forgiveness. But a lot of people do it from the head energy, from the mental plane, and it's never completely forgiven because the energy is still, it's still there. So I wanted to also share that. And as I went through it, because that was able to lift me, then I was able to go through all the forgiveness of all of those individuals and forgiving myself along the way. So then that takes a lot of time to integrate as well. It's not like this. There's an integration with that, because then the emotional body can finally fully be released, And then they gave that space for Michael and I to really talk through this. Okay, here we are. We're going to have our Ascension Friday Tea Time. Where are we? Are we moving forward? Are we not? Let's get to the bottom of it. If I'm willing to get to the bottom of this, are you willing to get to the bottom of this? And and it's not this fluff love. I do not resonate at all with this. "Ugh, I love you. I do nothing that. Is this love strong enough for us to see within ourselves and for us to move forward?"
And the beautiful thing that I always honor, honey, in this beautiful divine union is that we do both come forward and we both share from our hearts. We both go through the biggest impacts. We're stretched to the areas where we don't feel like we can take it anymore. We're hit with our limit when we know we are limitless in our energies. And it's just amazing when we're stretched to the points that it's like it doesn't seem like you can be stretched anymore. Yet the beauty and the amazing portion is we do take the honor and respect to really speak in ways that sometimes we're in hours of conversation. Sometimes she's screaming and yelling, and I'm just standing there and sharing. Sometimes, I'm in tears and I'm not coming from my heart because I'm in my pain body. There's this amazing ability that we are taking this time and energy, and it really just gives that ability.
We're doing our work.
We're doing our work, and I
totally
find that sometimes the work is it can be it can be its hardest when in these divine unions, because when we're by ourselves, we don't have these triggers.
No.
We can be by ourselves and all of a sudden be like, everything is perfect. But when we actually do the work, that's when it really, really requires mad respect, mad honor, because the beautiful thing is we don't run away from it. We want to keep revisiting it. And every time we keep revisiting it,
I don't feel it's revisiting. It's
not revisiting,
I feel
but
like
consciously speaking, not revisiting, but
consciously speaking
coming
and
together.
consciously showing up. Yeah. And this is part of no shame, no embarrassment. Here's we are. We share the good, we share the bad, we share the ugly, we share all of it. Part of it is when we are public, this is the gift of being public. We don't hide behind the camera. We are right in the front. We're public. So what happens? Any of this other the dark energy will only impact you when you're hiding.
Burden.
When you're hiding. We're not biting. We're right here. We ourselves are addressing our own. And when we're being upfront, open about it, because we for me, I don't care what anybody else does. For me, it's very important to stand in the truth, whatever that truth is. If the truth means we're not in a line, then that's the truth. If that truth is being alive, we're fully vibrating that highest level of sizzling joy, then that's the truth in that moment. Because the truth is one truth. And that one truth has its vibration throughout the day, and that's where we're operating from. And it is very important that him and I, we hold each other accountable. If you're moving forward, whatever needs to be changed has to be changed, and not because he's changing it for me, because he is in commitment, in devotion to himself, to his I am presence. And that is very important. If I am visiting somewhere in me that has played a behavior pattern, I'm not doing it because of him. I'm doing it because of me, because I am committed to be the greatest and the highest version of my truth, of my I am present that is coming into this garment. And because for it to come to garment, these things will block its light. And I am in commitment to that. That's where I'm coming from.
And when there is so much light and there's so much explosion of light, watch what happens to the dark around it, because dark, it goes straight to the light, always knowing that the light is stronger and can dissolve the dark. But it's funny when the light rises, and when it rises, as you said, honey, it exposes those areas within us and around us, especially, when we are public figures, when we're teachers, when we're doing large things, then of course it's even a greater commitment, greater discipline. I could not be more grateful for what I feel honey has been to me as the greatest level of
Because
a
before,
a
if
model
you look at you
example.
would be
Yeah.
embarrassed. Oh my God, like
No,
I'm
yeah.
gonna look bad
No,
and all
yeah,
that.
exactly, and
Because it was before.
and
I'm like,
what's
there's no bad.
yeah, and what's great about yeah.
We are transparent with each other.
And what's
Why
great
would we
about
do
this for
that?
me,
Excuse me, use the
I'm still
restroom.
3 years into social media, 3 years of still being on the camera, and Honey's had this for a while. It's been so amazing to see where I am now, to speak this clearly and to share from my heart of where those weaknesses are, where not even weaknesses. I don't want to judge from strength or weakness, but where those areas that need to be uncovered and bring them forth so we can share them so that people can understand that we're all going through this together. We're all moving through this, and in our own transparency, what stays hidden becomes that burden because we are hiding it. And a lot of times we hide these things that don't feel good. When we meet discomfort, we tend to run away from it, or most people just numb it or avoid it. And when I really find when the just most incredible juice, the most tasty tea, the depth of the grind is when we're in those moments, is that time where our highest evolution and our highest growth can take off from that. When we're in our moments of like, gosh, despair and hopelessness and pain and anger, those points of the life are actually the most incredible times to take off because we're actually in the thick of it. Of course, when we're
And that's where most people want to run away.
right.
And when you stay in it,
when you stay in it,
you
it's like
stay in it.
it's like a
And
blender.
the allowing whatever you need to say, you say, not run away. So I blasted, and he's learned to say it.
Last night I was sitting there, and as she was blasting,
I was blasting.
I was looking into her eyes, and I was like, "I love you, honey. I honor you, honey." But I was sitting there like this as she was like blasting it, and all I kept doing was standing up like.
But
okay.
I was blasting and just the truth of it, like the confusion and the truth of it.
Everything that she said, it kept going deeper and deeper because as I listened to her, and as I could feel the pain, it gave me the motivation to say, "Wow. Here's someone that's in such deep pain. Here's a union that I've been brought together. It's now motivating me even deeper and deeper to say, okay, now how can I dive into that exact level of pain?"
Part of it, because you have the pain, but and this is what happens. Like, you're not willing to see the depth of your pain. So I'm expressing it to bring it to your attention. Will you give yourself permission to visit that pain? So you're seeing me to help you to see that deep pain so you can release that out of you.
And it's interesting because there's even an old pattern that Honey's helping me move out of, because as she's upset, angry, and sometimes screaming, that's also for me to rise out of that and stand in my masculine power, which I did not do when my dad was screaming, or I was retracted back, or I was in my shock because I was like, I was like, I just froze. And in that freezing,
so I'm helping him to get out of that frozen.
She's doing it on the outside. It looks like I'm just like, because there's so much coming at me that it feels like it's like a full on, fight, because she has about 5 chiefs and about many masters coming through at one time, which is just like full on. The more that I'm actually engaged and not being intimidated, scared, or fearful of what's going to happen, and just sit and listen and really just allow, surrender, not losing, not giving power away, allow and accept everything that's coming forward, because in the highest and the highest good of all, there is something that's coming through me to help bring this forward, to transform for the highest love of all.
But what I feel is important to say, Michael, like in that space, because you're not willing to see, you're like touching the surface level, and then because there's the pain is so much in there from wherever childhood, and it's giving you the opportunity to see it, but it's still the resistance of seeing it. And once, like last night, we had a breakthrough, because finally, as we talked through it again, it's like hours of it, like 5 hours. Imagine it, like it's like there's a little bit of break and it goes, there's a little break, I know, and finally something clicked, and I was like, and I always look deep into Michael's eyes, like, and because I want to know, out of love, I want to know what's happening
through my soul,
through his soul. Like, talk to me. What is going on? Like, don't bullshit. What's going on? There is pain in there. What happened? What took place that made you frozen, and you just froze? What is that? can we visit that place so this can finally be dissolved,
And then,
you
wow, it
know?
just happened. I just got a download. Thank you, Demetrius. That frozen also creates denial.
Denied.
Denial.
That's right.
Bingo. Because that frozen, we don't want to accept it. So we're in
Yeah.
that state of being frozen. We're like, denial didn't happen.
And
move
a part of
forward.
Michael's
Wow.
program
Thank you,
has.
Demetrius, by the way.
Thank
I
you.
just received that when you said downloads, because I was really going deeper. Like, what's creating the frozen? Where's the lack of acceptance? Where's my lack of responsibility? But when we're in frozenness, what does the mind want to do? It wants to protect. How are we protecting? We're denying. It didn't happen, so we move forward.
And this is so big one, and part of it, and this is why we share, because we share so that we all are part of this. The other part of it is that when there's that denial, there's never a full acceptance that there's a problem. And that's been part of then Michael compensating, overcompensating of wanting to be a nice guy.
Right.
I'm a nice guy, but honey, I'm a nice guy. And I'm sitting there. I'm not going to buy that. I'm a nice guy. Yes, you are. But I'm not going to buy this. I'm a nice guy
Actually,
thing.
a sweet guy, but I understand that it's
This
the
nice guy thing.
It's,
but because he wants to people please.
it's
And
the-
that's been part.
it's-
But see,
it's the
that's what
obligation-
happens.
It's that obligation which is in that denial. So by that denial of not accepting myself, I'm
Then it's
giving
the
my
other
power
side.
away to trying to find acceptance in others, or give my power to
Yeah.
others, or look for look for approval for others,
Yeah.
which is the biggest one of why society, not only me, but why we put so much energy of why we put so much value of how people see us versus how we see ourselves. It all comes back around to our own self-love, because if we're putting all this energy of how people see us, how they value us, how they celebrate us, how they honor us, what we look like, then we have to go back and say, well, am I accepting myself for who I am? Am I actually being in my heart right now?
That's
and
right.
truly honoring and celebrate? Because when we come to the point, this is the thing I love about Honey deeply. She doesn't give a flying rat's ass, of what other people think, because she
don't.
has such authority and strength of what she sees
But
and feels.
I wasn't before.
Wasn't, but what she has now, she has such,
After I died,
she has such a power of
Yeah.
holding that space, and it's like, wow, she doesn't care what other people think. She doesn't do that. And I'm like, wow, honey, that's so powerful, because I came from a background of like, make sure everything's happy, keep things calm, keep things light. But if we're giving our energy to all the other individuals, we're never holding or standing in our power. And Honey has that ability to stand in her power. That's why some people, retract immediately, because her energy is so strong that they're like, whoa, I can't take it, because within themselves, they can't see that that's what they're not doing to themselves.
Yeah.
They're not giving that opportunity to stand in their truth, stand in their fullness of who they are, in their I am presence, because she has that divine connection already, in that pureness of what, not only from you're born, from the accident, from what you exude from your devotion, that's where it truly comes from. And that's why I find that the most important, as we look at as acceptance, that self-love and that energy, so that I'm not people pleasing. I'm not trying to give through obligation. I'm not trying to make everything happy on the outside so I can solidify the inside. It starts within first.
And I love this conversation, because Demetrius, you talk about unconditional love a lot, and I love that. And I feel that time has come. We really bringers of light workers, all of that. We have had this program in all of us of truly serving others with our love, and really overextension, unconditioning, what happened. And that time has come in this 2020. Are we unconditionally loving ourselves, loving our truth, and truly being in that energy inside and anchoring it? And I feel that's what is really coming up to be seen, because in order for us to truly unconditionally love another, you've got to unconditionally love you.
Exactly.
And that's the work in progress for all of us. That also includes me. And having said that, for me to stand up to Michael, to say, no, I will not accept that, that was my action of on choosing unconditional. I will no longer put myself in suffering because you're choosing that. And then my response would be, let me go ahead and clear this too, because I'm also responsible in this. I'm equally responsible. So it's the accountability, responsibility. The other part is what we speak of this unconditionally. There are still conditions around that is placed within our environment as this I am presence is coming, is being anchored, is becoming in the emergence of who we are. And it is the spirit that is taking over to lead from, then these things can no longer play a part. So we're gonna have to one second.
Have to go too because
One
we're
second.
unconditional.
Because then these conditions do come up so that we can, within ourselves, give love to it, bring this love into it, to then also release it so that we can lead not from our human form, but from our divine presence into the human. And I feel that's very important to remember. We as a spirit being are coming into the alignment, into the human form to lead from 2020 and beyond, leading in the golden age. It has to be from this presence. It cannot be from the way of our limited self, human self to lead. It cannot deliver the divine plan because the divine is missing in that when it's just operating from the human 3D. There's the emergence of the fifth dimensional consciousness and higher, and that's the I am presence. That's that the fullness of that which we are coming into the emergence. So that's why anything within the etheric body, the mental body, the emotional body has had to be seen, to clear, to transform, so that this present can come into the physical form, and it is leading from here. So the vision is clear, the presence is clear, the embodiment is clear, everything is clear. So this rays of light is emanating and it's doing the work through the human vessel. That's from where I'm coming from. That's so clear, that's been shown to me. And that's what I'm in service to, in committed to, in devotion to, and whatever it takes to make sure I am in alignment. That's what I'm service to. And if if Michael also feels that way, then we'll move forward. If Michael feels that way, but is not willing to stand in that, we cannot move forward. To me, it's that simple. There's no loss here. It's just a total truth of where we are. And it's an honor. It is in reverence to that which I am in commitment to, committed to, devoted to, called to serve from.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And anything else we need to?
I think that was beautiful. I think there's a lot. I really appreciate the time and the energy was created. We love all your comments. I love the comment is the people pleasing, because I feel that has been coming up for everyone. So thank you, Sonia. It's amazing.
Here.
I feel that there's this level of really just standing in our truth and our beingness, and standing in our truth is really standing in our full love and our commitment. And I feel blessed because I feel we are both committed, we're both devoted, and we've both been called in our respected incarnations to bring forth this mission in the gifts that we are bringing forth. And it's amazing because I love how Honey expresses it so divinely in her most celestial way. And there's elements where from an earth angel and even through the galactic realms is grounding it through our humanness, which is the spiritual experience, but it's also through our actions and beingness of it, because all of this is demonstrated in our beingness. That beingness is what is the mission through it, because we can anchor it, we can bring it all, but it doesn't happen unless we actually act through it. And
Yeah.
that action through it is our demonstration every single day through our interactions with our family, with our friends, how we wake up, how we talk to ourselves, how we move through the whole day is how we're living it. And that living it is our demonstration of our ascension because it's all coming through and we're all being activated through it. Now it's just that essence of what we can actually be it. So thank you, honey, for that
Mm.
beautiful, beautiful expression because every time I listen to honey, there's an activation that just sheds even deeper, deeper levels of light because we know that, there's energies that come forward, and as they come forward, they come out, they come expanded, and they help dissolve in all the levels that are brought forward.
Thank you, Michael. And I thank all of you, Valerie, Sanhia, Demetrius, David. I don't know who else was on here. Lori,
Kim,
Kim. For some of you, I know there are others watching, but they haven't made comments. And feel free to make a
Lori,
comment,
thank you,
Lori.
Lori.
Thank you so much. One of the things, again, the reason why this space is open and
Maida,
this
thank you,
honest,
Maida, for
oh,
being
thank you,
here.
Maida. The reason why this space, this live stream is open, the reason why,
Thank you, Mary.
some people are like, we're not here to share our problems. Or I don't look at this as a problem. I look at this, people are like, why you share your things publicly? When I said yes to my divine calling after I had died, after I was sent back to my body, everything was revealed to me why I'm on earth, what I came here to deliver in delivering of the golden age, to assist the personal and planetary ascension. I had to go through so many initiations of giving so much up to serve this. So, from this place of that in which I'm devoted to, which I have been committed to, which I've put everything to deliver this call because of what was shown to me and where I'm going. That level of clarity and the team that is supporting me is where I'm coming from. So as a result of it, I'm not here to dominate. I'm not here to control. I'm not here to tell people what to do. I am here to hold myself accountable for myself. I'm here to fully allow the highest version of me to come through, and the little parts of me that is not part of this divine alignment, they have to disappear. I step on that by transforming it, transmuting it, because it is an illusion. It is not the truth of the vibration of the divine that I am. I'm here to bring the divine qualities of my I am through me in the greatest way I possibly can into this human form and serve from here. So when this clarity is that clear to me, I'm first holding myself accountable on each part. And if I'm in a relation with another, then that part is also held accountable because it is through here that all is being serviced from. So, having also said that, what is important is I've also accepted being a public person. That means I will not hide behind a camera, behind posts. I'm right here sharing what is happening in my life because I'm no different than you, Demetrius. I'm no different than you, Valerie. I'm no different than you, David, or Sanhia. There's no difference. We are one. So, out of honor and respect of that oneness, I come publicly, share when it's what is working, what is not working, what needs to expand, what needs to dissolve, and what has been honed and anchored. And to me, it's been successful. And I can share from its wisdom. And not because I read it in a book, not because I'm following the og spirituality and the cookie cutters that want to be in some mold from spirituality. No, none of that, because what I'm guided, what is being shown to me, what is being revealed to me, and I only follow my heart and my truth. And it's from there that I am answering the call to serve. So if this resonates with you, great. If it doesn't, great. I'm not here to please any of you because I didn't come to please anyone. I came to serve the deepest truth that is coming through me, that has resurrected me, that has liberated me in a lot of the areas. And this that I'm doing right now publicly is the biggest part of a programming of the Middle Eastern woman and what have you, that they would never, ever, they would just put on a face. They would never discuss there was any problem. So this is part of saying, no, there is no shame. There is no embarrassment. And that's why the dark cannot touch this. Because when you show up in that light, that will retract completely. It cannot touch you because I'm coming from its love. Out of love, I'm serving, I'm speaking, and I'm standing up.
Oh,
I hold to
thank
that.
you. Thank you all. This has been a longer live stream than normal. We want to thank you for all feeling, for listening, and really having your full experience of what goes through because we know all this is resonating through us, around us, and within us. So allow this time to really, nourish yourselves, honor yourselves, value, and just take these days, these moments to check in to feel what's coming up because all of it is our beautiful, wonderful gifts that are here to keep expanding the highest love and highest light within us. And we cannot be more grateful, more thankful for all of you to share this time, to extend your days, to bring forth this beautiful Friday with us. So thank you so much.
And having said that, I do want to invite you on Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock here. We do have a in-person as well as virtual um, higher visions for Gaia to just hold the light. Allow this light to stream through us and we blast Gaia with the highest vibration of light. You're welcome to join us 8 p.m. Eastern. The other part is because of this, I've been inspired to do a 7-day of highest self love experience. I'll post this. If you are willing to really choose you for 7 days above everything else, and I will hold the space for it as I hold my space for it. And there'll be 3 tiers in here. I'll describe that in a video that I'll do. That will be coming up because I really want to do this. Highest self love for 7 days. That means no compromise, no sacrifice, any part of you, and just to fully honor you. If that calls you, please send me an email so I can announce this when I'll put this together because we have to organize a little bit of the schedule so we can dive in this space. And what's it like when you're only in service to the highest love of you? I feel none of us have ever truly given ourselves that gift. And I want to give myself that gift. So I'll be announcing that. If this video served you, please share your comment when the video is available. We really appreciate that. The other part of it is my video with the interview that I had with Gia with the anniversary of my crossing over and the questions that were asked. That video is really to help those who've sort of like their loved ones have crossed over and there's a lot of burden and heaviness and pain sitting on them to help them, and especially around suicides and what have you, and also the higher call and meeting the masters. It's a very powerful video, and that is also available on my Facebook page, also on the YouTube page. So please feel free to share and make your comment. Whenever you make a comment here, you're standing behind us, and we couldn't be more grateful to you. We are together, and that's how I see it. And you're each so deeply appreciated, so deeply valued. And I ask you to please Give yourself permission to allow the strength and the power of your love to lead from the divine love, from your I am. Don't bring your lower three chakras to lead from there. So much love. We'll see you in 2 weeks. And we're so grateful for your time and energy and your presence today.
Blessings and love. Thank you.
Do you want to say what the message was today?
Yeah, we're getting.
Yeah.
Release with love.
How perfect. Today for the 10th day.
If your desires aren't materializing as quickly as you want, ask yourself, am I trying too hard to make something happen? Do I have underlying fears that my dreams won't come true? Do I have fixed ideas about how many desires will materialize? Am I blaming someone for the situation, including myself? Any yes answers indicate a need to let go and surrender your wishes to God, the infinite supplier. When you clearly state your dreams and then release them to the universe, they come true very quickly. Today, we want to work with you in relinquishing your desires. Some people that believe the surrender is the same as apathy, and that releasing means I no longer care about this dream. Yet the reverse is actually true. The more you value a desire, the more important it is to deliver to the universe. Otherwise, your concern may invite a parade of anxiety which could march all over your dream and smother the life force out of it. We'll help you release with love today. We'll reassure you that the infinite mind is already supplying you with your needs, even if those provisions aren't apparent to you. Thought for today. God and angels.
I say divine. Divine and angels.
I now surrender my dream.
I now surrender my dream.
Which is.
I'm going to say this to myself.
You know that I care deeply about the desire.
You know I care deeply about this desire.
And that I greatly wish for it.
And I greatly desire for it.
Or something better.
Or even something greater.
To manifest in my life right now.
To manifest in my life right now.
Thank you for guiding me clearly.
Thank you for guiding me clearly.
And for helping my dream be fulfilled right now.
And for helping my dream to be fulfilled right now. Aho, and so it is.
And so it is.
Thank you so much. That's a good one. That's also on Instagram as well as this. You can state that and allow yourself to say it out loud so it broadcasts to the universe, so the universal corporation can collaborate back with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Aho.